And I looked and I expected white girls to be scared of beetles, but I expected black girls to not be. It's stupid, maybe even a silly story. But
well, it becomes a part of the conditioning that we have, and it's not only the conditioning for whites, it becomes conditioning for everybody, for blacks as well.
And that's why the story I told yesterday was of a man called Steve Biko, who created a movement in the 1960s and 70s called Black Consciousness. And his whole intent was to deal, well, his phrase was "black is beautiful."
Yes.
Because he said in common, we talk about the
which
black
we have
sheep
adapted
of the
in
family.
America.
So, yes.
Yes.
And so black has this negative connotation, and he wanted to not say that blacks are as good as whites, which is what a lot of Africans have been trying to say. He was saying no, but black is something on its own, and it is beautiful in its own right. It doesn't have to be compared to anything else. And he's had a huge influence. He was killed by the police while in detention after a long torture episode, and his story, as thousands of other stories in South Africa, have influenced people like myself. So with just what I was trying to help people to understand is that we need to be able to see the world through other people's eyes, and sometimes you get to choose to do that, and I hope that things that are happening in the world, President Obama becoming President of America, will be an opportunity for people to make that choice rather than fight him. And I've heard some awful reports of really top-class journalists saying things like, "We hope he fails."
Oh, that's the entertainer Rush Limbaugh, who we don't even consider a journalist, but he's an entertainer. And there's the whole wing of the conservative Republican Party who have nothing to offer in terms of a political platform, and so their only recourse is to destroy and to discredit. And fortunately, there are enough people in America who discredit them and go on with the agenda. But that's very important to bring up.
But I hope that what happens is they get to choose to see the world differently, and to have a moment of insight where they see, no, he's not the Antichrist, this new president. And Martin Luther King was right that the color of your skin is not the criteria.
Exactly. And the thing is, with Obama, and I mentioned this yesterday, that when you look at someone, Obama is the epitome and the summit of a number of people of color in strategic places, political places, the DeVal Patricks of the world, who became the first black governor of Massachusetts. I worked really hard for him, and they are a new brand of black consciousness and black political awareness. The joy is the impact that they're having around the world. I'm a multicultural specialist, so it's real multiculturalism throughout society, both professionally and personally.
Well, that's why I feel confident to talk on this topic. A few years ago, I was invited to speak in the States, and the university that had invited me wanted me to be the African speaker, and they hadn't seen a photograph of me. And when I sent my photograph with my CV, they withdrew the invitation. And I wrote to them and I said, why? And they said, because we need a black person speaking. And I said, but isn't the talk meant to be by an African?
Right.
And I felt the reverse. I felt, how can I be discriminated against? I am an African. I understood their point, and they had donors and expectations.
Well, it's similar to Teresa Hines, who is the wife of Senator John Kerry, who ran for president in 2004. Yes. She is from, I believe she's from Mozambique.
Yes, she was born in Mozambique.
And she declared herself as an African American, and she is. Yes. Well, but again, because our world has such hang-ups and issues to resolve in terms of race, it was rejected in many ways. What I like about you, the refreshing realities of your testimonial, was that you will resonate with white men, and particularly white American men, who can connect with you in a way where they can never connect with me. Yes. That the more you share your story with diplomacy and appropriateness, it will help them to open up and share their own stories. And to me, that's the only way we're going to really move on and resolve these huge issues that we faced for hundreds of years.
My grandmother is I think she'd be horrified if I called her a feminist. But she has always been at the forefront of women's rights in the issues and the environments that she's been in. And her view was always that until men start taking women's rights seriously, no real advances will take place. That's not because women can't advance their cause, but it's because women will truly know their cause is advanced when men take it seriously. Right. And I think the same is true of race. That issues, especially of black liberation, especially of black people making their way in the world, is not a black issue. No. And I really hope that...
It's a worldwide issue.
Well, it's a human issue.
Yes, yes.
And I really hope that we can not move beyond race. And for me, maybe that's the danger. A friend of mine said recently that he was in an environment where they were trying to do reconciliation between different race groups. And the one person said to the other through tears after a long process, he would say, I don't see you as black anymore. And although I can understand that sentiment, because now I see you the person and I don't see the color of your skin, the response that that black young woman gave was perfect. She said, well, if you don't see me as black, you don't see me.
Right.
And that's the thing. We've taken one step was to stop seeing race as a thing that divided. The next step was to stop seeing race at all, but the next step is to see race again and to see the value that there is in your heritage and your culture and to affirm you for that, not to be divided from you because of that, but to be united in our diversity.
And that is this process that America is going to also have to go through. We have a great controversy now about, now that we have Obama elected, are we really post-racial? And there are many African Americans who are screaming up and down, no, we're not there yet. We've already elected him, and we're very proud of that. But we have many other inequities to resolve that are based on racial inequities. So we've got much more work to do before we can even approach this whole concept of being colorblind.
It does take generations, and I'm really proud of being a South African, of living in a country where we have had the privilege of having some of those things accelerated for us. I don't think there's a shortcut to learning to live as humans in harmony, of learning not to be divided but united. It comes down to individuals. There will always be individuals in the world who refuse to do that. But when the bulk of society makes that shift, then we will have crossed that tipping point. I think it has happened, or at least it is in the process of happening in South Africa. I pray it happens faster in the United States. And it comes down to individuals. It's happened in my life and in my family's life. It is, for me, a remarkable place to be.
Well, this has just been an incredible interview to do, and to get to know you better and to understand this country from your perspective. It helps me to frame this country in my perspective, and I wish you the very best, and I urge you and encourage you to continue to share your story, particularly with people of color and with Americans too, so that we can see the other side and get to understand the other side through your eyes. Thank you very much, Graeme.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
All right, take care.